Hey everybody, Dustin DePirac here, columnist Ryan Karchi. The rookie eventually made it after a brutal, nasty trip down
Brutal
I-69 today.
7.5 hour drive home. So it was a good day overall.
Yeah, but he got here, and he got here in time to see easily the most competitive back and forth game Indiana's had. But they still pulled it out. They was really looking kind of dangerous there for a while. They were really back and forth with Butler in the first half, and Butler was playing pretty well, but IU pulls it out 75-59. They end up winning this one comfortably. I think it covered the spread. I don't know if we're supposed to
It
talk
did. It
about
was
things like that.
14, I think it was.
Believe it was, but so
Not
one
that we
other,
know.
yeah, not that gambling, not really we would not gamble in this game. We would get fired for that, no question about it. But anyway, point being, this I think you learn a lot about Indiana today, without question. I did not think it was going to be this close. I did not think Butler was going to be able to hang, but they showed they're still, even without the same amount of talent that they've had, even without Matt Howard, even without Shelvin Mack, Gordon Hayward, players like that with those kind of stars, they're still gritty. They still play really tough defense. They still get after you, and that was tough for Indiana early on.
They have the same. They have the same mentality, and kind of what I thought was most impressive about Indiana is that they came out and matched that mentality. I mean,
Yeah.
they were just as scrappy as Butler has been in the past 2 years, and they won a game like Butler has done so many times. I mean, they were diving for loose balls. They were getting
Yeah.
hit in the face. I mean,
Yeah.
Tom Pritchard himself was. I thought he was one of the most aggressive players on the floor,
Absolutely.
and that's
Absolutely.
just there was one moment. He dove for a loose ball and had like four Butler players on top of him, just
And he was ripping at it,
in
yeah.
a pile, and he came out with the ball. I mean, it was a jump ball, and Butler got it back, but
Yeah.
still, I thought that play kind of embodied the effort today. It was,
Absolutely.
it was intense, it was scrappy, it was physical. It was a street fight. That's what
A
Cody
little
Zeller
bit.
said, but
Yeah,
but
it was the most. I mean, again, you did find out what kind of heart a lot of these guys have, and Pritchard was a guy that really stood out. I mean, he's obviously a guy who's I don't want to say to go so far as to say he's been marginalized this year, but just with Zeller playing as well as he has, the fact that he's been able to play the five in the games that they played so far, and with Derek Elston playing as much and as well as he has in the healthiest he's ever been. Pritchard just hasn't had a lot of minutes, but he again is a guy that's very, very valuable defensively, and you saw that he was really being active, really denying, denying guys the ball, had a bunch of steals. The Ginger's on his way over. I'm sure he's going to make a cameo in a second here. But anyway, outstanding defensive effort. They held Butler to 38.2% shooting, 40% in the second half, and it was pretty good. You making an appearance or not?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Anyway, he's coming. Okay, so now we'll try to recover from that. Another thing they did defensively, Krishan Hopkins had 13 points in the first half. He only had one field goal in the entire second half. 6-11, 7 for 12. They really got after them. So that was a lot of what you saw. It was kind of, easily the most physical game that they've played so far. And they survived it.
And there was-
you want to chime in here?
yeah, you can chime in.
You know, I guess what struck me, I was writing a post-game column about Tom Pritchard and how his sort of new role is good for the team because it means that they're not really counting on him offensively anymore. And it's good for him because it's an example of a senior really kind of buying into doing what needs to be done and playing to his strengths. And it kind of struck me, it seems in some ways like they kind of out-Butlered Butler.
That's
In
kind
a
of
way.
that's kind of
Yeah.
what I said.
They really, at least for about 25 minutes tonight, played the way Butler wanted to play. They possessions were long. They were ground out. There wasn't a lot of transition offense, at least again not in the first 25 minutes or so. And certainly they started to pull away as they were able to kind of wrest control of the game and play the way they wanted to play. But, and I know Butler's not what it used to be, but I think it's important because the Big Ten is going to present you with a lot of teams who want to play a very Butler-like style of basketball. I think it's important for Indiana to know that it can play that way as well. It doesn't have to be wide open. It can still it can survive a cold shooting night. Because the truth is, I think Tom Green talked about this. I wasn't actually there. I was in Brad Stevens' press conference. But the truth was, Indiana was getting the shots it wanted in the first half. It just wasn't
making them. Yeah.
So I think it's good for this team to see that it can suffer through some bad shooting. I think it's good for this team to see that suffering through bad shooting is a lot easier if it forces its way to the foul line,
Yeah.
which it did. And I think it's good for this team to know that the game doesn't have to be played at an almost NBA-like pace. for them to win.
I think Tom Crean had the line of the night. I thought he said, he said he told the team after the game, I feel like you guys got better during this game, but I know you got tougher. And I think that was something that really stood out. I mean, I think they had to find out early that they weren't just going to be able to move the ball around and score the way they had in the first 5 games. That this really was going to be tough, and that they were going to have to adjust and they were going to have to adapt. I mean, it took them a little while to do that, but once they did, things changed. And like you said, you talked about guys getting to the foul line. I mean, obviously, player of the night tonight, Will She.